Hello, everybody. Darren Hardy here, and this is our special Q&A session after each episode that we're going through on DarrenDaily right now. If you aren't familiar, we're doing a special mini-series this week called Spring Cleaning Your Life and Your Business. And then based on the questions that you leave in the comments, I'm coming on and addressing a few of those to help you take advantage of this quarantine and isolated time to do some introspection, to do that pruning and cleaning of your life and business so that you can prepare yourself for the comeback coming out of this crisis. So let's get to some of the questions. First off, this episode number 2, was focused on how to get the right people in the right positions, doing the right things the right way, and the clean sheet process for how to evaluate that. So if you haven't seen the episode, we'll post a link so that you can make sure that you see the basis of where these questions are coming from. Okay, so the first question comes from Mary Chizmar. She asks, what do you do when the non-A player is the boss? Well, I would say this. First off, Mary, look, you're going to spend a third of your life at work, a third of your entire existence on this planet, this precious life that we have. I think we're becoming a lot more aware of how precious life is, how fragile and how fleeting it is. And you don't want to spend a third of it working for somebody you don't believe in and doing something for a company you're not proud of. So I know that right now you've probably got bills and you can't make any rash decisions right now, but I want you to start setting your intentions and making a plan to find a leader that you want to follow. Work for a company that you're proud to spend a third of your life capacity allocated towards. My definition of success personally is doing what I want to do, the way I want it done, with who I want to do it with, and for who I want to do it for. All of us should set that same intention. It's like what I wrote about in The Compound Effect when I was out looking for my dream girl to go and find my wife. I wrote down on in a journal 40 pages of the ideal woman that I was looking for. And it was to every description so that I knew when I walked into a restaurant or to a club or into a grocery store whether she was there or not, because I was clear about exactly all the attributes and characteristics that would define her. The other thing that I did, though, was I wrote down another 40 pages of her ideal man. What kind of a man would this woman want for herself, to be sure that I was growing into becoming that person who was worthy of this woman on the previous page. I would suggest that you do the same. What's your ideal company? What is the ideal leader that you want to follow? The ideal business endeavor that you want to be a part of. Make sure that you're super clear about what that looks like, all the attributes, all the characteristics, and then ask yourself, what kind of an A player would they want for their company? And describe that in great detail and make sure that you're growing into that person to be attractive to the kind of company that you would love to be a part of, the kind of organization you'd like to be a part of, the kind of leader that you would love to follow. Okay, so you first have to have a clear vision. We all have amazing capability. Our mind and eyes and ears have amazing capability to find what it is that we're looking for. We first have to get clear about what it is that we are looking for. With that clarity in mind, you will find it in reality. Okay, question number 2. There was just a lot of discussion around how to let people go who don't have a place in the company anymore based on the clean sheet process that we went through, particularly in the current situation with the COVID and the general loss of work and so forth. Well, I would say this, that your business serves a mission. It's there to deliver a result. And in order to serve that mission and deliver that result, it needs certain systems, resources, and people to deliver on the results to make the mission prove positive. And the clean sheet process is about re-examining whether you had those in alignment to begin with, whether you had the right people in the right positions doing the right things the right way, the right systems in places we'll get to later in the series as well. And all it did was shore up what you probably should have done before, what you should have done before when it came to your org chart. Wall Street Journal will tell you that the greatest failure of leadership is failing to remove underperformers. So all this process did was to expose where you had misalignment and you had people who were in the wrong positions doing the wrong things the wrong way. It wasn't serving the mission to deliver the result. Now, here's the reality about what's going on with this current COVID-19 crisis. There's a new federal act called the Families First Corona Response Act, and it was approved by the House of Representatives on March 14th, signed by the president hours thereafter. It goes into effect March 29th. That says employees that have been subject to federal, state, or local quarantine, or they've been advised by a healthcare provider to self-quarantine, or they've been experiencing symptoms, or they're caring for an individual to any of those that I just described because of the coronavirus, are entitled to 80 hours of pay. If you're part-time, the equivalent of what would be 2 weeks. And that adds to sick leave. That's not in replacement of the existing sick leave that they're already entitled to. That adds to it. So you're going to need to bring those people back into your organizations. And the first thing I advise you to do is to sit down and have a come to Jesus conversation and say, hey, I just want to identify where we're going as an organization, the mission that we're on, the results that we need to deliver, and the role that you're responsible for, and where you might not be living up to current expectations. So here's the expectation over the next 2 weeks. Here's the results that we need to get to. And if we cannot see progress in these areas, then we need to have another conversation about where we might help liberate you to the marketplace, where we might be able to find you other employment. But that conversation probably needed to happen long ago. This process has just forced it in front of your eyes, and now it's time for you to take proactive action. You have a fiduciary responsibility as a leader, as the custodian of a business that is serving a mission to deliver a result, to take proper care, to make sure that all the resources are aligned towards that mission. I'm a huge believer in investing in your people and doing anything you possibly can in the current environment to protect and keep all your people, even at the sacrifice of profits for your business. Not at the sacrifice of survival, but certainly at the sacrifice of profits. But if you have underperformers, they were underperforming before the coronavirus, you have to put a stop to that by having this come to Jesus conversation. And they either rise up to meet the new standard that the company and the mission and the results that need to be delivered require, or you need to help them find another place in which to exist. They might not be bad people, they just might be bad for the role and for the company and for the mission that you're on. And so it is unfair to them to continue to have them be in a spot where they're not thriving as well. Okay. And let's see, the next question, Stephanie Novakowski, she asks, hey Darren, how do you suggest we start researching, planning, and coming up with a strategy to bounce back economically from this current developing downturn? I'm a project manager for a small custom home builder. I would appreciate your thoughts on this. Thank you so much. Well, I did a big broadcast on this at the beginning of the year when I had said 2020 vision, are we headed into a recession or not? It seems a little bit like Nostradamus now. But I talked about how my greatest fortunes have been made during times of recession, that I would not have been able to have had so much opportunity if we hadn't gone through economically crisis times. How in the real estate business, I thrived even as a 20-year-old because we were coming out of the recession of the 1987 stock market crash. How I rebuilt Success Magazine to become a success after 3 prior failures because I launched it in 2008 and it was recessionary times. None of those would have been possible. Now, the strategies I used to deploy to create thriving businesses during recessionary periods of time is baked into that broadcast. So what I'll do is over the next couple of weeks, I'll republish that broadcast because the strategies that we're going to need to have that comeback out of this crisis are definitely baked into there. So I will just defer the answer to that for that broadcast because I spent a lot of time reevaluating all the things that I did in order to bake those strategies back in there. Okay, last question. This one comes from James Carroll, who also got a question on the board yesterday as well. Thanks for participating, James. You're doing a great service to everybody else. He asked, what do you recommend if you can't yet afford to attract and retain top talent, A players, and can't do everything yourself? Okay, this is a great question, probably a question everybody else has. I've addressed it several times in reflecting on the interview that I had with Ken Fisher, who runs a large financial management firm to the tune of $50 to $100 billion. And I asked him, how he went from basically obscurity to, multi-billionaire. And he said, look, the process of that ascension is you have to learn to be a quitter. And I said, a quitter? What do you mean by that? He says, you have to learn to quit doing things that you can't do, that you can't afford to do any longer as you're growing your firm. So here's what he meant by that. He said, in the beginning, you're going to have to do everything. You're going to have to take out the trash. You're going to have to do all the accounting. You're going to have to do the customer service. You're going to have to do the sales. He said, the key, though, is to make sure that there is a radical focus on sales. Because if you get the sales going, that's the lifeblood of the business. That gives you the money to afford you hiring a janitor so that you can quit taking out the trash. Get more sales going, and then you can quit doing the accounting. Get more sales going, and then you can quit doing the customer service. He says you have to have a radical focus on sales. As sales scale, your job is to start quitting as much as you possibly can until all that is left for you is to oversee the strategic vision, the culture development of the organization. But you can't start there. You have to start by doing everything, have a radical focus on sales, the lifeblood of the business. That's going to fuel the rocket ship. You run out of fuel, rocket ship falls out of the sky. Sales is essential. I'll tell you what I'm going to do. In the Entrepreneur Roller Coaster book, I talk a lot about this and how to refine your sales skills so that you can get the lifeblood of the business pumping. I'm just going to give it to you, okay? I bought an inventory of these from the publisher. And so what I'll do is I'll just give you the book that I've already bought. You just pay for the shipping for me to get it to you from our fulfillment center, and this will be my gift. I'll also do it with the compound effect as well, so that I can help kind of strengthen your mind in these times when we know that the mind is going to have the most control over your body. You can't have a strong and healthy body if you don't have a strong and healthy mind. So this can definitely help you in your reorienting your daily practices. Okay, so I'll put the link to how to get a gift copy of the book in the comments or somewhere so that you can find access to that. So hopefully that serves you. We're doing all we can here at Darren Hardy LLC to be of service to you. Our business is to help business leaders and high achievers who are choosing to be the exception, particularly in times of challenge. So all the resources that we have available to us we're trying to deploy and make it as easily accessible to you as possible. Okay, so I think that's good for today. Be sure that you're tuned in to the Darren Daily Spring Cleaning Series. Episode number 3 is coming tomorrow. If you've got questions based on the material that we cover tomorrow, please put them in the comments, and then maybe your question will be answered right here from my live quarantine home office in San Diego. Okay, so everybody have a great day. We'll talk to you again soon. Bye-bye for now.